morning. We have joining us Courtland Robertson from the Westport community with Courtland Roofing. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I believe this is your first time in studio.
Yeah.
And you are in construction?
Yes.
As far as we talked about before we went on here, about you've done construction since you were a little boy?
Yep, exactly.
How did you get involved in construction?
Just Dad did it on the side growing up and everything. He kind of mixed it between that, and then as I got older, got more wrapped up into it. Actually, while I was in college, is a friend of mine owned a restoration company, and he invited me to come do some sales for him, and then it kind of took off from there. I started as a sales rep for his company, and then became his lead carpenter, and then slowly worked into a mix of sales and project manager, and then me and him ran together for several years, and then one day I decided it was my time to go on my own.
So how long ago did you form Courtland Roofing?
So CRF Roofing and Restoration, we started it, technically in 2013.
Okay.
We've had a couple name changes since then, just as we grew, we kind of figured out where we wanted to be. So. Okay,
so you say roofing and restoration.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about distinction with somebody needs like a new roof or the restoration part, or how does that work?
Yep, so our main specialties are roofing, siding, exterior renovations, but also we do water damage, the dry out, and the putback. We do fire damage repair, and we also do foundation repair and mold remediation.
Oh, wow.
So I'm certified in somewhere between 30 to 40 different aspects.
Okay.
Yep.
So how do you, when you talk about, for example, mold remediation, so obviously you have to detect what type of mold it is first?
Not really.
No?
Is pretty much throughout 99% of type of molds, you can, at least what grows in Indiana, pretty much all of them can be remediated the same way. So whenever you think about mold, is everybody gets scared and everything else. The only one that you really need to worry about, truthfully, unless you have a allergy to mold, which most people do, but it has to be more on the severe scale of it. But the one that you need to worry about the most, and everybody talks about, is Stachybotrys. And everybody says, oh, we've got black mold, but most molds that grow in our area can become black once they reach their adult stage. Kind of the easiest way to tell people about mold is think of it like shrubs or trees or brush.
Okay.
It starts off as just a little plant and everything else, and you can see it on your drywall, your ceilings, the floor joists underneath your house, but you've got to handle it the same way. If you just cut it off at the top of the ground, the roots are always going to still breathe there, and it can re-sprout at any time. So technically the correct way to remediate it is we do a 3-step process in remediation with a follow-up. But it has to be vacuumed with a HEPA grade vacuum that's made specifically just for mold. That way the micro-sized spores can't be released afterwards, coming out of the vacuum, if you will. But we also stage the basement or the house or the crawl space or wherever it might be, is we block the vents, we make sure there's no air openings into the house, and then we set up it's a negative air system. So basically we create it to where usually the air that's in your house comes from the basement or the crawl space. What we then do is we set up a very large fan to where the air comes from the house into the crawl space and it gets blown out the fan outside the crawl space. That way those spores can't travel up in the house. But then we go in and we vacuum everything in the affected area. So usually it's a crawl space or a basement. In our line of work, it's usually 80-85% crawl spaces or basements. Every now and then maybe an attic, sometimes bathrooms or drywall or so on, closets. But so we'll create that negative air system. That way the spores can't travel back. Vacuum everything in the crawl space as far as any wood porous surfaces. So your framing, your beams, your joists, your subfloor, and so on. And then we go in there with a very, very concentrated hydrogen peroxide. And what that does is, like, if you put it on an open wound on yourself, how it bubbles and everything, it does the same with mold. That actually pulls the mold, or if you want to think of it like this, it pulls the shrub out along with the roots. That way you actually effectively rip the stump out, if you will. And then once that dries, we go back through with a hospital grade disinfectant, which will then kill anything else and also help prevent any future mold growth.
Wow.
But then also we figure out the reason why it grew in the first place. So it's got to have humidity, temperature, and a moisture source. So if we kind of figure out all that, if it's just a really humid crawl space or bathroom or basement or whatever it might be, is we whether we set up a dehumidifier, is a lot of times, a lot of crawl spaces and basements, it's the downspouts. They're not extended far enough away from the house. The water backwashes in, creates it extremely damp. A lot of times, a lot of companies will say, oh, you need a whole entire waterproofing system. In reality, it's just because your downspouts or your gutters aren't draining it out far enough away from the house, and it's getting underneath the footer and coming back in.
Wow. Okay. Then you also mentioned foundations.
Yep.
How do you talk about your foundation and what people may need as far as the foundation?
Yep. So kind of the same way with the mold, what I just mentioned with the gutters and the downspouts. Every now and then you get one that is bad enough to where there's no correcting the water coming in, if you will. Mm-hmm. So, and there's two ways to kind of waterproof basements. You can do it from the outside or you can do it from the inside. A lot of times with homes that have been there for a little while, it's easier to do it from the inside.
Okay.
Is you can basically cut out part of the concrete floor around the perimeter of the house, take out the concrete, dig down to the footer, put basically it's a silt fence. It's a fabric material, kind of like weed barrier, and you put that down. What that does is you're getting ready to put a pipe in there and gravel, but it will encapsulate the gravel to where mud can't wash it and then clog the pipes. So then you put the gravel in there, then the pipe, then more gravel on top of that, and you encapsulate it with this fabric. So it keeps all the mud out, any tree roots, anything else from clogging that pipe. That pipe then is ran downgrade to a sump pit and takes that water back out. But also is one we just did up on North 3, just past the high school, is they only had like probably a 6-inch footer, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
We had to jack the whole entire house up about 4 inches, take out the block, take out the footer, take out the whole entire foundation of it, dig down 2 feet, add a new footer, and then rebuild that block and then reset the house on that. They just never is a 1-block foundation, and with freezing and thawing, it just shifted over the years, and the house had settled 3 or 4 inches. So it kind of just depends what the project is, but we generally do a lot of kind of everything with foundations.
So talking with Courtland Robertson with CRF
Roofing Restoration.
And then let's talk siding. You say you also do sidings?
Yep. So we do all types of siding. Right now we've got 2 fiber cement projects going.
Now what's that?
So fiber cement is James Hardy is the brand that we generally use for fiber cement. So it is actually basically a cement siding, and its impact rating is outstanding. Basically, they've got videos out there where people are hitting golf balls and baseballs and all this directly at the siding, and it's taking no damage. It may scuff the paint a little bit, but also it's supposed to last forever. You just got to paint it every 20 or 25 years. If you don't maintain the painting of it, then it becomes more brittle and everything else. So it's just kind of like almost everything that has a little bit of maintenance, but the only maintenance really required with this is just to paint it. That's about it.
So is it like a vinyl or like a
no,
wood or?
It's literally concrete. It's a lap.
Oh, that's right, concrete.
Yep. It's a lap siding concrete. So and they've got board and batten with it. We're getting ready to start one over by Hillbilly Quarter.
Yeah.
It's a board and batten material. So basically, you're putting up 4 foot by 8 foot or 9 foot or 10 foot sheets, and then it's a 4 foot wide, 8, 9, or 10 foot tall sheet that you put on the sheathing of the house, and then you run the battens over that, and that dresses up, makes it really pretty. It helps the aesthetics. That's one form of it. The other form of it, like I mentioned, is lap siding, like the old clapboard siding wood on old houses.
Okay.
So, and it comes in varying different sizes from, I believe the smallest is like a 4-inch reveal up to like a 10-inch reveal. So the most common one that we do is about 6 inches.
So now, let's talk roofs. And when people are replacing a roof, is there a particular type of tile or sheet that they like to use on a roof?
So we primarily we install basically 3 types of roofs. So your regular shingle roofs, and then we install 2 types of metal roofs. So the first type of metal roof is the rib metal roof, like you see on barns and everything else. Technically, its true term is exposed fastener roof. The great thing with it is it should last forever. The one thing not a lot of people mention is that the fasteners degrade over time, that rubber washer on them.
Okay.
And they actually need replaced every 20, 25, 30 years. So that is one massive thing I try to educate everybody on. Like, yes, it's metal roof, but you have exposed fasteners with rubber on it those screws will need replaced every 20 or 30 years roughly. And then we have standing seam, which is hidden fastener. Those roofs, pretty much barring a traumatic weather event, should last for pretty well ever.
Okay.
Yep. So, and then the shingles that we install, Owens Corning's right over in Brookville. My family's used Owens Corning forever. I've got a bundle sitting at our shop that's from the 70s or 80s, I believe. The original bundle rack's still pretty well perfect on it. But we install a lot of Owens Corning. We'll install other brands, but generally, if anybody asks me my preference, I've installed thousands of squares of Owens Corning, and we have extremely rare warranty issues, if ever. But with Owens Corning, we generally install dimensional, depending on the budget of the person, the customer, they have about 3 or 4 different series of shingles as far as dimensional goes. Oak Ridge is the entry-level dimensional. It's rated to, I believe, 110 miles an hour wind rating.
Okay.
It's not hail resistant. It has no hail rating. Duration is a class 3 hail resistant shingle, which basically means that it's good for, I want to say, like a half-inch size hail, up to certain speed and everything else, but it has 130 mile an hour wind rating. It also has Sure Nail technology, which is basically almost like a nailing strip going through that you nail through that, and it makes it 1,000 times stronger and less likely to rip off in wind. And then you can get up into your class 4 shingles, which is Duration Flex. It's a bit more expensive, but it's probably going to outlive me.
So, Courtland, what's a good number to get a hold of you?
Yep, it's 812-651-0102.
And while you're here, let's talk about the roof giveaway promotion you have going on.
Yep, so right now we had we over doubled in size last year, revenue and employees. Most of our work being in Decatur County, we wanted to give back specifically to Decatur County. So we're giving a free roof away. No strings attached, absolutely nothing involved with it. The caveats of it is you have to be nominated by somebody else. You can't nominate yourself.
Okay.
is we want a little story of why that person thinks this person should be nominated, should be picked. Is we are looking for low income, fixed income, single parents, disabled, veterans, somebody going through a hard time but don't have the funds right now to cover a new roof. This is literally, I've been telling everybody, this is 100% free. It's not one of those gimmicks you see online like, oh, sign up and you may win a free roof. Like, no, we don't want any phone numbers. We don't want anything else besides the person you're nominating. And the only time that we're going to contact them is if whenever we get down to the final 3 contestants, we're going to call them then. That is the only reason why we're collecting numbers.
And then you're going to verify that you're going to narrow it down to 3.
Yep.
And then verify that they indeed need that new roof and qualify.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Is they'll be subject to basically a minor financial search, if you will, just to make sure that they can't afford it. They don't have $300,000 in their checking account just laying around to play with. Is we want to find somebody, we want to find the most deserving person for this. So we've already had several dozen people nominated.
Oh, I'm sure.
Quite a few great stories within that, but my honest goal is I'd like to see at least 100 people nominated.
Okay.
And kind of sift through that.
Okay. And then the promotion's going to run through the month of April?
Yes. We started a little bit early. We started out Friday. We were going to roll it out today, but we didn't want everybody to think it was an April Fool's joke or something like that. So we went ahead and rolled it out Friday. It ends at the end of April, and then we're picking the final 3 towards the beginning of May with the actual winner on May 12th.
Okay. Yep. Now, when you go to present that winner, will they know in advance, or are you just going to show up?
Just going to show up.
Going to show up. Can we go with you?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
We want to be there when you.
Oh yeah.
When you're there and capture it all.
Yep.
How's that sound?
Wonderful for me.
Okay. Anything else going on this morning, Courtland? It's interesting to hear you talk about the mold remediation and what processes are out there, and foundations and siding and roofing and all the things that.
There's a lot to know.
That you guys that your firm does.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that you've increased in employees. About what kind of operation, what size of operation are you?
So we got 4 full-time employees.
Okay.
1 part-time, and we also have several subcontractor crews that we pull from when we're extremely busy. Like whenever the storms came through the other week, we tarped 27 roofs from the tornadoes between Columbus to Hartsville.
Yeah.
So I had to pull from all sorts of resources to get all that done. Is Jake Maddox Farm Bureau Agency.
Yep.
He sends us a lot of work. So we've got to keep everybody happy and make sure everything's rolling out well.
So that's something that you do as well, that as we look at the storm season, that you're able to do the tarping and get people's houses ready for the work.
Yeah, we get calls at times at 2 a.m. for somebody's basement flooding. Fire department's calling to come board up a house after a fire. Pretty much, we do a lot.
Okay. Yep. I'm getting your number.
Yep, 812-651-0102.
All right. Well, Courtland Robertson, thanks for coming in.
Yep, been a pleasure.
903 WTRE.